I went to my son's wedding as a proud single father, but my name card read uneducated phony dad. The bride's family laughed, until my son turned to me and said, "Dad, let's leave." The next day, their empire faced a storm they never expected. I stood at the back of that marble-decorated banquet hall in downtown Boston, tugging at my second-hand suit that never quite fit. 23 years. That's how long it had been since Melissa walked away, leaving me with a crying 3-year-old and a mountain of bills. 23 years of hauling bricks during the day and stocking shelves at Target at night. 23 years of instant noodles and worn-out clothes from thrift shops. But somehow, we survived, my son Ethan and I. And now here we were, gold chandeliers casting warm light over tables that probably cost more than my rent for the month. Guests in glittering gowns sipping champagne I couldn't pronounce. Ethan's wedding day. My chest swelled as I looked at my son, tall and confident in his tailored tuxedo, laughing with his new bride's family near the live orchestra. I walked toward the family table, searching for my place. The bride's family, the Winters, had spared no expense. Even the seating cards were embossed in silver. I found mine quickly. Daniel Carter, father of the groom. But just beneath, in fancy script with silver ink, someone had added, "Uneducated phony dad." My stomach dropped. Surely it was some mistake. But then I heard the snickering. Dr. Charles Winters, the bride's father and a top surgeon at Mass General Hospital, smirked into his whiskey glass. His wife, Helena, covered her lips with a manicured hand, barely hiding her laughter. Their son, Brandon, leaned to a cousin and whispered something that made them both explode with laughter while staring straight at me. "Well, what did you expect?" Dr. Winters muttered to his wife. "The guy swings hammers for a living. Probably quit school to take care of some teenage mistake." My hands shook as I flipped the card face down and tried to sit. But the damage was done. Laughter rippled like fire through their side of the table. 23 years of sacrifice. 23 years of being both mother and father to Ethan, reduced to a cruel punchline. I stood, ready to walk out with what little dignity I had left. But then, a firm hand gripped mine. "Dad." Ethan's voice was calm but unshakable. His eyes burned with something fierce, the same fire I'd seen when he stood up to bullies back in middle school. "Let's go home," he said. "But son, this is your wedding. Let's go home." Louder this time. The music stopped. Conversations froze. Nearly 300 guests turned to stare as my son glared at the Winters table and declared, "You all just made the biggest mistake of your lives." We didn't yell. Didn't explain. We just walked out of that ballroom, leaving his bride and her family in stunned silence. And the very next day, everything changed. The drive back to my tiny apartment in Dorchester was silent except for the quiet hum of Ethan's Tesla. That car always felt foreign to me. He'd bought it last year with his tech salary, though he'd been vague about his work. He kept his eyes locked on the road, jaw tight, the Charles River glimmering beside us. Not a word until we reached my 3-story brick walk-up. The same home where I raised him. The same place where the heaters clanged in winter and Mrs. Alvarez upstairs blasted her soap operas too loud. As I fumbled with my keys, Ethan finally spoke. "You know, Dad, I saw it. The name card. Before you did." I froze. "You saw it?" "I was watching when Brandon's cousin wrote it with that pen. I wanted to see how you'd react." My chest sank. "Then why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you say anything?" His eyes met mine, pain and steel mixed together. "Because I needed to know if they'd really do it." if they'd truly humiliate the man who raised me on the most important day of my life. And they did. He pulled out his phone, security footage. Dr. Winters laughing as he passed the pen. Helena calling us trailer trash among civilized people. And worst of all, Ethan's bride, Sophia, nodding and saying, "My real father is the man I'm marrying into money with. That construction worker? He's just a formality." It felt like being punched in the gut. But Ethan, he was ice calm. "Dad, there's something I never told you. I never signed their prenup." They didn't. They begged me. Dr. Winters even offered to invest in my tech project if I did. But by then, I had already built something. Quietly, with my college roommate, Marcus. A cybersecurity firm called Iron Shield Systems. I blinked. "Ethan, what are you saying? Last year, Google acquired us. All cash. $52 million. My knees buckled. Ethan stared straight at me. "I could buy the Winters family twice over, Dad." The next morning, I woke to the smell of fresh coffee. Ethan was already in a navy suit that probably cost more than my truck. On the kitchen table lay a folder thick as a phone book. "Today's the day, Dad," he said. "Today they learn who you really are to me. Not some fake dad, but the man who made me everything I am." Inside the folder were documents. The Winters family company, Winters Hospitality Group, a chain of luxury hotels and restaurants, was quietly bleeding money. And Ethan had been buying their silent shares all year. "You already own part of their company," I whispered. Ethan smirked. "Try 49%. And by 9 a.m., when another fund sells me their 3% stake, I'll hold the majority." That morning at Winters Hospitality headquarters in the financial district, Ethan walked into their glass tower like he owned it. Because he did. The boardroom was full. Dr. Winters sat at the head of the table, arrogance dripping from him. "What is this nonsense?" he barked. Ethan calmly placed the folder on the table. "Effective immediately, I control 52% of Winters Hospitality Group. Here's the proof." The silence was crushing. Then came whispers, frantic phone calls, shaking hands. "You little parasite," Dr. Winters spat, veins bulging. Ethan didn't flinch. "No, Charles. I'm the son of the man you mocked. The construction worker who raised me. The so-called fake dad who worked 16-hour days so I could attend college. The man you laughed at built me into this. And now, your company belongs to us." The room froze. Ethan turned to the board. "Effective immediately, the Winters family, Dr. Winters, Helena, Sophia, and Brandon, are removed from all positions. Security will escort them out. Their severance will be mailed." Dr. Winters lunged. "You can't do this, it's my father's company." Ethan's voice was granite. "It was your company. Now it's mine. Through him." And with that, we walked out, leaving the Winters legacy in ruins. The Boston Globe called it the wedding revenge takeover. Headlines spread, from hard hat to hostile takeover. My son, once dismissed as a construction worker's kid, was suddenly speaking at Harvard, featured in Forbes, and invited onto panels with CEOs. As for Sophia, she vanished from Instagram overnight. Her carefully curated life of yachts and designer brunches went dark. Word spread that her family now faced federal investigations for fraud and embezzlement, evidence uncovered by Ethan's team during the acquisition. But Ethan? He just kept working. He moved his firm to a sleek new office in Cambridge but still came by my apartment every Sunday for roast chicken and Red Sox games, just like when he was 10. 6 months later, a knock came on my door. I opened it to find Sophia Winters, soaked in rain, mascara streaking. "Mr. Carter," she whispered. "I need to see Ethan." Ethan came to the doorway. One look, and his expression didn't shift an inch. "I made a terrible mistake," she sobbed. "My parents pressured me. They made me think you weren't enough. That your father was beneath us. But I realize now." Ethan raised his hand, cutting her off. "You realize now that the man you insulted owns the building you're standing in." Her eyes darted past him to me. "Mr. Carter, I'm so sorry." I shook my head. My voice was firm. "You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry for how it turned out." Ethan pulled an envelope from his suit. "This is the clause your parents signed in desperation. It bans any Winters family member from working in hospitality for 20 years. That includes you." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Ethan, please. Can't we talk?" He looked at her with steady eyes. "You had your chance to talk, Sophia. You chose humiliation over love. Now I choose my father's dignity over your regret." And he closed the door. Months later, I sat in the front row of the Boston Hilton Grand Ballroom. Not as a wedding guest, but as the guest of honor. Ethan stood at the podium, announcing the launch of the Daniel Carter Foundation for Working Families Education. The applause was thunderous. When asked what inspired it, Ethan's eyes found mine. That man right there. The one who was mocked for working with his hands. The man who taught me that true worth isn't in money or degrees, it's in sacrifice, integrity, and love. Tears stung my eyes as the crowd rose to its feet. For the first time in my life, I felt like the wealthiest man in the room. Years passed. The Winters family faded into scandals and indictments. But Ethan kept building, kept giving. And me, I realized I hadn't just raised a son. I'd raised a man who understood the difference between being rich and having true worth. And that was the greatest legacy of all.